button. Do not be afraid to subscribe. Give me your assessment and click like and give me your opinions on my channel. Those who would subscribe to my channel and embrace my channel are brave and want to be informed and appreciate the honesty and integrity that Tony Also Knows Boxing gives to the boxing fans. Subscribe to the channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. All right. What do you guys think? Who is the better fighter, Roy Jones or Floyd Mayweather Jr.? I totally believe and utterly, completely believe with a passion that Roy Jones Jr. was a more dominant fighter, and he was actually more, he fought better elite fighters. He took more chances, and he didn't protect his O. He actually wasn't a businessman as far as like protecting his undefeated record. He was a businessman who made the right decisions to prove his talent and to prove that he was a great fighter by moving up in weight to fight the heavyweight division, because he was so dominant in his weight class at a young age. He was so dominant for a long time that he felt compelled to like actually challenge himself further by moving up in weight to fight John Ruiz, a heavyweight, which he was never fought in that weight class. He fought at a junior middleweight. I think he fought from junior middleweight to middleweight. He moved up to middleweight to fight James Toney. That was a fight where everybody thought that Roy Jones Jr. was going to lose. Everybody expected that fight to be like a 50-50 fight, and most boxing experts gave James Toney the edge as far as winning that fight. Everybody, all the boxing experts were thinking that James Toney was going to dominate Roy Jones Jr. And Roy Jones Jr. actually proved all those doubters wrong, and those boxing experts were actually wrong in their assessments. And Roy Jones actually dominated James Toney, knocked him down, and he actually beat him by unanimous decision. And I feel that Roy Jones had better elite status competition than Mayweather. He didn't protect his O like Mayweather. He fought in Las Vegas to protect his undefeated record, and so he can have the advantages with the judges. And this is actually documented, actual facts. Yeah, he did the rooster. Babyface Chem 8156 says he did the rooster on James Toney. He sure did. Roy Jones is one of my favorite boxers, man. I think Roy Jones is way better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is overrated, and just because you have an undefeated record doesn't mean that you're better than Roy Jones, because Roy Jones actually took more chances than Floyd Mayweather. That's the reason why he didn't have the undefeated record, because actually when he started slowing down and he didn't have the same quickness, then that's when Antonio Tarver came and beat him in the second fight. And but Roy Jones actually proved more with the chances that he took than Floyd Mayweather can ever prove, because Floyd Mayweather just proved that he could protect his undefeated record and fight the fighters that he fought at the perfect time and have the advantage by staying in Las Vegas and not having to risk losing his undefeated record. Because if you fight in Las Vegas, there's influence he has as the A side. And basically, let me say hi to Time 18188, Roy Jones Jr. Word up. I appreciate your comment, Time 18188. I agree, man. Roy Jones Jr. was way better than Floyd Mayweather. And I think Pernell Whitaker was actually better than Mayweather as well. But, the fighters that took chances, they was more likely to eventually lose because they wanted to prove themselves. But at the same time, there's no shame in losing to an elite and you proving and taking chances, proving that you're not there to protect your undefeated record. You're there to prove real, true greatness with integrity. Mayweather didn't prove greatness by having a safe strategy of protecting his undefeated record as a brand, which he managed his career to make sure that ascertain that he didn't lose his undefeated record. So he chose to fight in Las Vegas, because in Las Vegas, well, let me read it over here. Influence over officials and A-side politics. Because Mayweather brought hundreds of millions of dollars in tourism, gambling, and live gate revenue to the city. He held massive leverage. Critics frequently note that fighting solely under the jurisdiction of Nevada State Athletic Commission meant that officials, referees, and judges were consistently vetted and selected under the terms favorable to the A-side superstar, which was Mayweather at the time. And judges were highly familiar with his defensive style. In close fights, close rounds, the benefit of the doubt almost universally went to Mayweather because a loss would destroy the most lucrative cash cow in boxing history. So Las Vegas actually made sure that Floyd Mayweather won and had the benefit of the doubt, even when he lost. Especially when he fought Luis Castillo. You know that when he fought Luis Castillo, Floyd Mayweather really lost that fight. That was the most closest decision and split. I think it was a split decision, and it was the most closest fight that he ever had, and it was the most controversial fight because a lot of people believe that Floyd Mayweather lost that fight against Luis Castillo, and including me. Anybody who saw that fight, who has two eyes and doesn't need glasses and actually can see, has 20/20 vision, definitely was right about saying that Floyd Mayweather lost that fight with Luis Castillo. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning to my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Garner Miller 5370. Good morning, Guam. Yeah, good morning, my brother. Good morning, my brother. It's not morning over here, but good morning to you, wherever you're located in Guam, right? So salute to you, my brother, wherever you're located. I say good afternoon to you, and if it's good morning, okay, good morning to you. If it's morning where you're at, it's 4:11 over here in Florida. I was about to say New York City because I'm from New York, so I was about to say that. I was gonna be an error. But yeah, Tampa, Florida, that's where I'm at right now. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Marlboro Projects, and I lived in Chicago from 2010 to 2015. Yep, salute to my wife. She's from Chicago. Salute to Chicago, and salute to everybody that I met over there, and salute to New York and Florida and all the people that I keep meeting. I'm from Florida, Apoca. Oh, okay, you're in Florida, so you said good morning. You said good morning. That's why I was like questioning where you was located at. Yeah, it's not morning. So yeah, but salute to you, my brother. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Don't be a sucker. Don't be afraid. If you want the truth, you only come to Tony also knows boxing. Don't go to any other content creators that are lying. I'm not saying that all of them are lying, but 99.9% of them are just clickbait and fake. Not me. Tony also is real. So that's another thing. Okay, Floyd Mayweather. We're gonna talk about. Okay, let me see. The risk taking. Okay, let's talk about the risk taking. Roy Jones versus Floyd Mayweather. Okay, we're gonna talk about the risk that they took and the risk that the other fighter, Floyd Mayweather, didn't take. All right, you are correct. Roy Jones took the ultimate physical risk, moving from middleweight 160 all the way to the WBA heavyweight championship against John Ruiz. Yes, in 2003 that was. And was a historic feat that had not been accomplished in over 100 years. So Floyd Mayweather didn't do that. Roy Jones Jr. made history, accomplishing something that hasn't been accomplished in 100 years. And I believe Mayweather, in contrast, boxing as a risk mitigated business. Basically, you're saying that the observations of supported by the facts. It says Canelo weight stipulation. When Mayweather fought Canelo in 2013, he forced the naturally larger man, Canelo, 154 pounds, to go down to 152 pounds catch weight, effectively using a contract stipulation to drain the younger lion's strength advantage, Canelo, in that fight. So that's where you see that Mayweather wasn't fully vested in proving that he was the better man against the natural abilities. He had to actually make sure that the fighter that had the natural ability was weight drained, so that way he has an advantage. So that wasn't really a real risk that he was taking. It was a calculated risk where he actually had the advantage. And being that he fought in Las Vegas and he was the A side, he was able to put a lot of stipulations to actually undermine the talents of the other fighter that had the more advantage with the higher weight, etc., and be able to dictate. with the terms, especially for fighting in Las Vegas, which he did for the rest of his career. Babyface Chem 8156. Floyd is 5'7". Why would he go to heavyweight? I'm not saying that he had to go to heavyweight. I'm just saying that Roy Jones Jr. he fought the better elite fighters like James Toney. They expected him to lose that fight, and he dominated him. And then Mayweather, when he fought an elite fighter, he was past his prime, De La Hoya, and De La Hoya really beat him. It was a split decision. So if he struggled with a De La Hoya that was not in his prime, what does that say about Floyd Mayweather? He really didn't win that fight. Even Roy Jones doesn't believe that Mayweather won that fight against Oscar De La Hoya. I saw that definitely Oscar De La Hoya won that fight. And if Floyd Mayweather struggled with an old, out of his prime De La Hoya, and they gave him a split decision, what does that say about Floyd Mayweather? If he would have fought a prime De La Hoya would have knocked him out. I think Trinidad would have knocked him out. Trinidad would have pulverized him. Trinidad beat De La Hoya. And De La Hoya, not on paper, but the unanimous hardcore fans that saw that fight, they know that Floyd Mayweather didn't beat De La Hoya. De La Hoya clearly won that fight. And that was a controversial win for Floyd Mayweather. And let's not forget the fight that Floyd Mayweather had with Luis Castillo. Remember, he gave him a rematch? He had to give him a rematch. Why would you give him a rematch if you know you won the first fight? It's because Floyd Mayweather knows that he really lost that fight, because most people were really angry that they gave that fight to Floyd Mayweather, because the first fight was so clear that Luis Castillo beat the crap out of Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather was not dominant at all. So when that fight was over, there was an outrage. So Mayweather said, I'm going to give him a rematch to correct my mistake. So when in the rematch, Mayweather corrected the mistake. He won the fight, but it was so obvious that he gave him the rematch because he knows in his conscience that he lost the first fight. Why would you give a rematch to a fighter if you know you beat him the first time? Obviously, if you know you beat him, you won't give him a rematch. But since Floyd Mayweather knew that he lost, he wanted to actually erase that from people's memory and give a better performance and beat him in the rematch with Castillo. So I think Floyd Mayweather is overrated. And Roy Jones is a way better fighter than Floyd Mayweather. He fought better fighters. And I believe Floyd Mayweather was more dominant, and it was in a higher peak for a long time. De La Hoya beat him. You're saying no way, but if you watch that fight, and Roy Jones is an expert at boxing, and he says that fight, that De La Hoya actually lost to Mayweather. He thinks that fight could have went either way, but he feels like he said he doesn't know who should have won that fight because it was so close. But he basically said that Oscar De La Hoya was not even in his prime, and Floyd Mayweather didn't really beat De La Hoya because it could have went either way. That's what he was saying. So if you ask Roy Jones, and Roy Jones knows his boxing, that's a powerful assessment that he made. And De La Hoya did beat Mayweather, but they gave the fight to Mayweather. And you're gonna tell me Luis Castillo didn't beat him? Luis Castillo, the first fight? Look at that fight and get back to me on my channel, Babyface Chem 8156. Look at that fight, the first fight with Luis Castillo, and tell me if I'm wrong about what I'm saying. A lot of people had an outrage about that decision when Mayweather fought Luis Castillo. A lot of people overwhelmingly felt that Luis Castillo beat Mayweather. He did. I saw that fight, and I'm sticking to what I know and what I saw, and I'm sticking to the truth that I feel was not, that this guy, Luis Castillo, was robbed of a win over Mayweather at that time. That's what I'm saying. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Yes, that's actual facts. And okay, let me see what else. Let's see what else. Okay, when Mayweather fought, let's look at it like this. Okay. Roy Jones Jr., he beat James Toney, Bernard Hopkins. Those fighters are actually elite level fighters that continued to fight even after he beat Trinidad, which I don't agree with the way he threw the Puerto Rican flag on the floor. Bernard Hopkins, but you can't take away his talent and what he's accomplished. You know, he's accomplished a lot afterwards too. Like after he lost after he lost to Roy Jones Jr. So, you can't say that Floyd Mayweather's resume is better than Roy Jones Jr. I don't think it's a better resume. I think that he calculated the fights when they took place, and he fought Pacquiao after Pacquiao was already knocked out by Marquez. So how are you going to say that you're the greatest if you beat these fighters, Miguel Cotto, after Margachito beat Cotto, and all these fighters that you fought them when they were already beaten, and they weren't they weren't looking like invincible like the way James Toney was, and Bernard Hopkins. He did look very invincible before he fought Roy Jones Jr. But nobody was picking Bernard Hopkins to beat Roy Jones Jr. But the way Roy Jones Jr. beat Bernard Hopkins, he's a Hall of Famer. Right there speaks volumes of Roy Jones Jr.'s resume in contrast to Mayweather's resume. Because I think Mayweather fought a lot of older fighters, like Shane Mosley, when he wasn't in his prime. Fought Manny Pacquiao after he got knocked out by Marquez, and he fought Jose Luis Castillo, a fighter. Nobody predicted Castillo would beat Floyd beforehand, but his aggressive body assault in the first fight resulted in the closest, most controversial decision of Mayweather's career. That is documented. Subscribe to the channel. Talk boxing. And Shane Mosley almost did it, and he was not in his prime. And that says a lot about Mayweather's abilities. Staggering Mayweather heavily in the second round, almost knocking him out, but went on to lose a lopsided decision. But what does that say about Floyd Mayweather if he would have fought these fighters in their prime? Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya actually beat Floyd Mayweather, but they didn't give him the fight. No. I'm talking about when Shane Mosley fought Mayweather. I'm not talking about that, and with him in particular, babyface Chem 8156. You say older fighters, but Shane Mosley and Mayweather are like 2 years apart in age. Okay, you're right, but at the same time, Shane Mosley was not in his best when he fought. Floyd Mayweather. When he fought Floyd Mayweather, he was not at his best. He was not in his prime anymore. But let me see. You said they're the same age, right? I'm going to find out right now. Let me find out. I don't think they're the same age, man. I don't think they're the same age, babyface. They're not the same age. I'm going to tell you right now, just to double check. Nope, they're not the same age. Babyface, Chem, 8156. Shane Mosley is not the same age as, is not close age with Floyd Mayweather. Look, Shane Mosley is older by 5 years. What are you talking about, 2 years? It says right here, Floyd Mayweather was born on 1977. Shane Mosley was born in 1971. That's 5 year difference in age, So he was not in his prime. Floyd Mayweather fought out of his prime Shane Mosley, and Shane Mosley still almost knocked out Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the second round. Didn't win, but imagine if he would have actually been in his prime when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Shane Mosley would have beaten Floyd Mayweather. So no, they're not 2 years apart. Babyface champ 81-56. You're wrong about that one. So go to your Googles or just go back to the fight and see the age when they fought. But I went to the Google and it says Floyd Mayweather was born in 1977. Shane Mosley was born in 1971. So there's 5 years difference in the age, and he was not in his prime. Shane Mosley was not in his prime when he fought Floyd Mayweather, and he stunned him and almost knocked him out in the second round. Shane Mosley almost knocked out Floyd Mayweather in the second round. So that says that you're wrong about the age, and it says that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is overrated. He didn't fight the guys in his prime. He didn't fight Cotto when he was undefeated, and yes, and then he lost. I think the first fight, the fight was really close with Maidana, with Marcos Maidana. Remember, he gave him a rematch too, Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather gave Marcos Maidana a rematch because the first fight, a lot of people were saying that the fight was close. They could have went either way, and Maidana should have won. I saw that fight. That fight was so close, it could have went either way, man. And I think the Cotto fight was a draw. I think the Cotto versus Mayweather fight was a draw. Those are facts. Okay, I'm gonna ignore some of the comments over here. Steven Ibano 5874. Come on, man. I'm not gonna answer that question, man. You already know. Babyface Champ 81-6. Okay, they are both. They are okay. They are both are in their 30s. Neither of them were in their primes. And after his son Mayweather beat the hell out of them. Mayweather was in his prime when he fought Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was not in his prime. Remember, boxing years, they take a toll on you. So 5 years is a big difference in age when you're fighting a prime fighter like Mayweather, and Shane Mosley was 5 years older than Mayweather. So the years take a toll on you a lot, especially when you're 5 years apart. A lot has happened to Shane Mosley, and he did decline. At that time, he wasn't the same. He did beat Margachito, knocked him out, and exposed Margachito for the cheater that he is. And that's when Cotto did his research and made sure that he didn't cheat in the rematch, and that's why Cotto lost to him. But he took a lot of damage, Cotto, in that loss that Margachito used the plasters, illegal plasters on his gloves. So Mayweather fought Cotto when Cotto was not undefeated anymore, and he suffered a controversial loss by Margachito, who put plasters in his gloves, and that's the reason why Margachito won. And then in the rematch, he couldn't cheat anymore, and Cotto dominated him. So there's a lot of variables, and if you look at it, Mayweather was a businessman who protected his brand, and he stayed in Las Vegas. Didn't want to fight anywhere else because he protected his undefeated record by staying in Las Vegas. And by fighting in Las Vegas, the judges they gave him the advantage, where he had the advantage with the ring size. And if the fight were very close, and the fights would go most definitely to Floyd Mayweather, even though the fight he was losing that round, they would definitely give him the benefit of the doubt and give him the round because he's fighting in Las Vegas. The judges were actually bought out by Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, that's why he stayed in Las Vegas and kept his undefeated record. He was fighting as a businessman first and not taking the chances that Roy Jones would take. Babyface Chem 81-56. I'll say Madonna one was very close. Yes, it was very close, and I think that it could have went either way, and that's why I say Mayweather is not as flawless and as great as people say he is. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I say Mayweather is not as great as people say, and I believe that those are proven, documented facts why I say Mayweather is overrated. I think Roy Jones was a way greater fighter than and had more abilities than Mayweather, and he was flawless for many years until he started to decline and he got older. That's when he lost to Antonio Tarver, and that's when his abilities weren't as he wasn't as quick and nimble as he was when he was very, very dominant when he was younger. That's what got him to stay undefeated and made him such a special talent. And that's the difference between him and Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was not impeccable, flawless like Roy Jones Jr. Like Roy Jones Jr. didn't have close, controversial decisions that could have went either way like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather had a controversial decision when against Marcos Maidana. He had a controversial decision against Castillo. And I think whether you agree or not, even the Miguel Cotto versus Floyd Mayweather decision was controversial to those who have two eyes and have 20/20 vision, and saw that that fight could have went either way, because Mayweather was not dominant and he was bleeding through his nose, and he was seriously hurt in that fight, and we never saw Mayweather hurt like that, like the way he got hurt in the Miguel Cotto fight, which you saw Mayweather bleeding through his nose profusely. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Tony also knows boxing. Yes. Thank you for your comment, Babyface Champ 8156. I'll say Maidana one was very close. I appreciate your comments. And Steve Ibano 5874. Puerto Rico should be independent. He's saying, what currency does Puerto Rico use? Come on, man, really? I'm not gonna answer that sarcastic question, that condescending question, actually. So anyway, I believe that Puerto Rico should be independent. We have, Puerto Rico has an unincorporated status that benefits the United States corporations, and Puerto Rico was illegally invaded by the United States military with Charles Herbert Allen, and they exploited the sugar industry in Puerto Rico, 85% of it, and they used Puerto Ricans as slaves to benefit and profit the financial interests of Wall Street and Charles Herbert Allen, and the financial interests of Wall Street in the United States. And Charles Herbert Allen actually was enslaving the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, and Pedro Albizu Campos created a successful strike and forced the United States military to raise the wages of the Puerto Rican workers. And as soon as they raised the wages of the Puerto Rican workers, then that's when the United States government and the military started following Pedro Albizu Campos. Before that, they didn't tap his phone or follow him. They totally ignored him. But when he became a threat to the financial interests of the United States corporations of the United States and the government, by making sure that Puerto Ricans get paid more money and that Puerto Ricans can become independent and not be slaves to the United States corporations of the United States, that's when the United States government and the military of the United States, they followed Pedro Albizu Campos all over the island and tapped his phone, and they actually imprisoned him, and they actually put BDI radiation on him to kill him. It's documented in the carpetas and FBI files, and that's what the United States government did to anybody who tried to liberate their country, which Puerto Rico should be a country. They have their own identity, but the United States wants to impose Americanization to capitalize on the resources of Puerto Rico and stagnate the economy of Puerto Rico with the Jones Act law, which only benefits the United States financial interests and benefits 85% of imports that benefit the United States and outside entities, and doesn't benefit the local economy of Puerto Rico. Deliberately done so Puerto Rico's not self-sufficient, and the local agriculture cannot compete with the lower prices of the 85% imports of the United States with the Jones Act law, where an American ship has to go to Puerto Rico and they don't allow anybody else to help Puerto Rico so Puerto Rico can have exports. They actually impose the Jones Act law, 85%, so that the United States corporations benefit and Puerto Rico doesn't become self-sufficient, and they can't compete. The local agriculture of Puerto Rico can't compete with the 85% imports of the Jones Act law, where the prices are inferior to the local agriculture of Puerto Rico. The local agriculture of Puerto Rico cannot sell their fruits or vegetables at a lower price, because then they won't be successful, they won't flourish. So, and then if they try to sell it for a higher price, they can't be successful because they're competing with the lower prices of the imports of the United States with the Jones Act law with an American ship. And this doubled the prices and taxes by 30% for the local Puerto Ricans. Yes. And then the local Puerto Ricans cannot be self-sufficient and cannot flourish or be independent because they have a forced codependence with the Jones Act imposed by the United States, by Woodrow Wilson on Puerto Rico. And it just actually deliberately stagnates the local economy of Puerto Rico, and it costs more every time you import from an American ship. It costs 35%, actually 30% more for the local Puerto Ricans because it has to go through Jacksonville. So every time the ship goes through Jacksonville to Puerto Rico, they're charging 30% more. For the locals in Puerto Rico, they're paying the taxes while the politicians actually sell the island to outsiders. And they're not real Puerto Ricans. They're in cahoots with the United States government and Congress. That's right. Tony also said it over here. And they are working in cahoots with Donald Trump. The American government and the politicians of Puerto Rico are actually friends and a puppet government of the United States Congress. And Congress controls Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico don't have a say, and because they're unincorporated, and they could launder money under the table because Puerto Rico's unincorporated. And I'm saying the truth, and a lot of people don't want to embrace the truth, but they want to keep believing the lie that the United States government brainwashes everybody to believe, including the Puerto Ricans that want Puerto Rico to be a state. They're slaves because Puerto Rico, as long as Puerto Rico's unincorporated, the United States will always benefit and from the tax exemptions of Act 60 and for their corporations, and the local economy will stagnate. And that's the reason why Eliseo Molina should be the governor of Puerto Rico. He's in the Senate right now, and they try to kill him, and he was actually voted in by a paper vote because the electrical data of voting, they took him out, thinking that they were going to eradicate Eliseo Molina out of getting into the Senate, but he was able to circumvent that, outsmarted them, and was able to win the Senate, independent Senate, the first independent senator of Puerto Rico. So that says a lot about the United States government and the PNP party. They actually work in cahoots with the Donald Trump and selling the island to outsiders, and they're basically promising Puerto Rico a statehood so they could keep robbing with the unincorporated status, and they never actually fulfill the actual Puerto Rico being a state or independent. Because if Puerto Rico becomes a state, the United States government and their corporations will not be able to benefit from the tax exemptions. And if it becomes independent, the United States government and all the politicians will not benefit from the tax exemptions as well. So this is the information that I'm giving you, the real knowledge, the real truth about what's going on in Puerto Rico that nobody wants to tell you. And then all those brainwashed Puerto Ricans want to keep acting like they're real Puerto Ricans when they actually are supporting the slave masters' benefits of unincorporated status and the corporations of the United States exploiting Puerto Rico as a tax haven for billionaires. And as long as Puerto Rico's unincorporated territory, Puerto Rico will continue to be abused, exploited, and taken advantage of by the local politicians of Puerto Rico and the politicians of the United States and Congress, and the United States government control the puppet government of Puerto Rico. That's how it is. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my subscribe to the channel. I just said a mouthful, but a lot of people that don't know their history, they don't know that, or they refuse to embrace that as the truth. They don't do their due diligence and research. That's what you have to do. You have to keep seeking until you find. And once you find, you will rule over the all. And people will marvel at the fact that you know this information. But the only way to know the truth is you got to keep seeking. That's how you get real knowledge. You got to keep seeking. You got to do your due diligence and your facts. You got to fact check. Read books. Don't go on Google. Read books. Books are not always gonna have the truth if you look for the right books. But if you go on Google, they can gatekeep and control that information. So you got to be very careful and very wise and selective with what you learn and what you seek, especially on Google. You got to be very, very particular. You got to go with PDF files. PDF files, those are documented files where you're gonna have the facts there. But if it's not a PDF file, anybody can put whatever. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Que viva Puerto Rico libre. Free Puerto Rico. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also. Let me read the comment over here. Como Lomo says, long live a free Puerto Rico. Damn it. Word up. Como Lomo's one of my regulars. Salute to you. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you tuning in. That's my brother right there. He is family. He's always on the channel. Always checking out Tony Also Knows Boxing. I speak about everything. I speak about boxing, but I also speak about my music too. You can check out my music, Unite the Tribes, The Monumental Truth. You can check out COVID-19, the government, basically the YouTube, they took it out. They took out that song, but you can still get it on Spotify, COVID-19. So yeah, they can't stop my message. That's what they want to do. But they can't stop the truth of what I said on COVID-19. Yeah, they don't want people to know the truth, but they can't stop the truth because the truth is always going to survive, whether you try to bury it with concrete the natural grass will grow up, and the roots will show that this is what you're trying to hide. You can't hide the truth. The truth is always going to manifest. You might suppress it for a while, but it'll come into the light eventually. Word up. Yeah, check out COVID-19 on Spotify. Tony also check out my new single I Won't Stop, and the other single I Want to Be Free, and check out well, actually you can check out Don't You Know. That's a reggae dancehall song. Yeah. Como Lomo, COVID-19 killing everyone. Como Lomo, that vaccine is a death sentence. Word up. Facts. See, all the people that tune into my channel, they're real and they're brave and they're intelligent and they want more knowledge. They want that truth that Tony Osono's boxing is bringing. I talk about boxing, but I talk about real stuff too. I talk about my life too, and I also talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico, and I talk about the world in general as the political climate. I try not to get too much into it, but you can check out my songs where I discuss that. But not all my music is political. Some of it is, but it's all real. But I got an album called Organized Chaos. It's coming out soon. It's real stuff. It's about life. It's a dance album with soul. It has a freestyle element. It has a Bruno Mars element with the style of music. I basically sing on this album, and it has like a nice soulful dance, R&B influence, but it's all dance. But I put all my soulful R&B influences and combine it with freestyle music, pop music, as far as like Bruno Mars style, kind of like R&B-ish. I talk about friends. I talk about a lot of stuff. Organized Chaos. That's the name of the album. So yeah, you gotta check that out when it comes out. It's coming out soon. I already have 9 songs recorded. I'm gonna record one more, and then I'm gonna get beat productions done for the remaining songs, and then I'm gonna release it. And I got a song with Keith Murray, Stop Being Greedy. It's gonna be available on all major platforms. Subscribe to the channel. And that's all I got for now. Yes, I think Roy Jones is a better fighter than Mayweather. Mayweather's overrated, man. Subscribe to the channel. Tony Sono's Boxing. Peace.